Thank you. So this program, this project is called the Local Economy Hand Up Project and was conceptualized as our response. The organization Social Empowerment Education Program, our response to COVID. We knew that COVID's health impact, and we also understood that the socio-economic effect of this was going to be quite devastating. And as you know from the newspapers, the media, and so we don't traditionally work in urban setting. Yeah? So this time we knew the effect was very much felt in the urban areas. So Lami Suvarnasuri corridor was our focal point. And the main objective of this was, as you heard the women, just to help them put food on their table and money in their pocket. Huh? Again, not to make them millionaires, but to just help. So we did a survey, and what we found was we identified communities, informal settlements, Suvarnasuri corridor, and did a survey and found that in terms of income streams were very much lessened in 2020. There were women who were reporting that their husbands left early in the morning to go and stand, excuse me, literally looking for work. Yeah? Income streams at the time when we asked them was $50 or less a week to feed families. In some families in these settlements, in these communities, you had about 11 people, parents reporting that they were having to drink water, or teaching their kids to drink water to replace food. So we had different projects going apart from the ration packs and government assistance and everybody else's assistance. For us it was about how can we develop or design a project that would help them become sustainable over time, so it was not just for the week, because the ration pack can only take you a few days. We wanted something that they could depend on as a source of income. We had backyard gardens, handing out, the trays to plant and tires for communities that didn't have land to build in. And then one of it was coming up with this thing called local economy. The concept of it is borrowed from cooperatives where it's a group of people coming together, live together, work together. And so the idea was form them into little cooperatives around grocery canteens. Women would be the focal point. Why? Because it's the women who stay at home. So these were going to be home-based canteens, and they would sell from their home. So the grandmother wouldn't have to leave her grandchildren. She'd just sell from there. And it wouldn't be everyone selling the same items. So they went through a workshop identifying the way people ate in their settlements, the kind of foods people ate, and the meals that they were preparing, and buy groceries according to that, and form them into what we call local economy groups or legs, 5 of them. So if there were 5 women identified, they would undergo the training, and our teams would help them to register online. And this is where government's policy to make it easier to register your business was very helpful. So our teams would help the women to register online. So all 5 women would have their own business registration. So if she decided she didn't want to be a part of it anymore, she could go off on her own. But to become part of the local economy group, they would have to come together and then sign an MOA with each other and then with SEED. Our input, and thanks to our donor partners, of which there are few, and we need to say thank you to them, is Xerio, Christian World Service in New Zealand, Oxfam in the Pacific. Yeah? So they fund this project, and the idea is that this organization would run trainings with them, journey with them, help them to develop their forms. So they have all kinds of forms to fill in, monitor their stock, monitor their fortnightly meetings, monitor their dinner that was coming in. And we would provide stock for about 3 to 4 rounds. So every fortnight or every 3 weeks, our organization would meet with them, our teams would meet with them, assess and then restock. The idea is that by the end of our stocking, they would be able to restock themselves. And so that's how it happens. So since 2020, we have conducted training for 60 women. These 60 women have formed into 12 local economy groups. Since 2020, as you can imagine, not all of them survived. So out of that 12 that we were working with since 2020, we're very happy to report that about 7 or 8 are still functioning today. Out of this 7 or 8, we don't have the full set of 5 anymore. So most of them have 2 or 3. And for us, we take that as a success. Why? Because we know the challenges that they would face. Some of the members, their husbands have gained employment. Some of the women themselves have found employment, so they've dropped out of that. The idea is also that the women themselves will identify new members to join them. Where they have been successful, it's quite heartwarming to hear those stories like Kara from Omkaram Makita Mini Mart. You know, when she first started with us, or when they first start with us, they don't deal with the vendors. They normally get their shopping from the supermarket, their stock. Now, in the case of Kara, she was just reporting here today that her main supplier is FMF itself. I'm not talking a small FMF shop, we're talking about the big company. And they've built her signboard outside her house. So she went from zero contact with the suppliers to on a personal basis with them, that they know where she stays. So those are the little things that, you know, we try to encourage them to go on to if they can. So what started off as a COVID response, we are now taking on board for now as part of our strategic plan in terms of livelihood, sustainable livelihood. The core of it is to make sure that we're trying to engage them in terms of cooperative principles. Cooperative principles also includes community concern. So it's not just for profit that you're doing this canteen. It's about looking out for the marginalized woman, the elderly, and making sure that some of your, profit finds its way to caring for others in the community. At this current time in Namosi, we have identified, in the rural areas, we have identified a few of these families. In the urban areas, what has happened is every time we get donations, sanitizers, people give us funds to do other ration packs. These community local economy groups, they become our contact points now. So it's like a whole network. And so instead of us going to the community to go and deliver, like one of the things we want to highlight was when the lockdown happened last year. Remember, we were cut off from everybody else in Suva and they had borders set up. We knew that the communities needed assistance, so how were we going to do that? It became much more easier because our teams didn't have to go to them anymore. We just put them, the ration packs, with these women in here, and they started to make contact with the most marginalized groups of people in their own communities. And they reported on that, and they would write the reports and send it back to us. So it became easier to share, redistribute things that were coming for them through these contact points in the communities. So again, it was conceptualized as a COVID response, and now it has become more of a collaborative effort between SEEP and these community groups. One of the difference with this local economy project is the 10% that we collect from them. So we collect whatever sale they make for that fortnight. When we have our meeting with them to check in, how are they going, we collect 10%. We don't collect it now. They send it M-Paisa or the different ways that we do it. And it could be as much as $150 a fortnight or as low as $30. It's whatever they can give. And what happens is, when we first started doing it, the women thought that this was a loan, that they were repaying a loan. I said, it's not a loan, this is your money. So as part of the training, we take them through the concept of dividend. So at the end of the year, each of the 5 women that have been buying from their own economy, we have a calculation tier distribution that we do at the end. So each woman will then get a dividend share at the end of the year. One woman can walk away with as much as $600 in addition to what she was getting throughout the year. Other women can make off with as little as $40 to $50, but the point is, they never expect that this is going to happen. So when they started receiving it in their hands, They were trying to adjust to, oh, so this is what it means. I said, yes, this is what dividend means, so you get something in return. So we always ask them like this. So we always ask them like this. For example, when you go shopping in New World, Charanjit, no offense to all these wonderful big supermarkets, RB or Rajendra, does Mr. Rajendra come to you and say, hey, thank you for spending $3,000 throughout the year, here's $100. Do they do that? They never do. But in this local economy, the more you spend buying from your own local economy, the higher dividend you can take back. And so we try to practice that. So what happens now is, the women's groups that are joining us now that undergo the training, when they understand this concept of dividend, they're now saying, you know what? Never mind the 10%, we'll give you additional. Yeah? So we're still trying to calculate on that for each of them. And it's an exciting new way of doing things. So again, just to recognize that today is women in business. But our women in business, our grassroots women in business, yeah, they are trying really hard, they have daily struggles, but they're still going at it. And we will journey with them as long as we can.